or provide job opportunities, because the system has undermined them at every fucking step. So this is how, this is one way to make it out. Particular. So shut the fuck up and eat this ad. If you don't subscribe, you will eat it. And then, strap up for the ride.
And talented rappers of the last 10 years. Endlessly creative,
But these rappers are multimillionaires. They can't claim poverty as a reason, or am I wrong? Yeah, rappers famously are born as multimillionaires to multimillionaire families. That was a really good take from you. And definitely not like literally fucking living in a trap house. You're so good.
His enormous catalogue is packed wall to wall with bangers.
This chat is the whitest chat on the planet, I swear to God.
Making some of the greasiest trap music imaginable. Over the course of a decade-long career, Young Thug ascended from the gutter, going clear and becoming a full-blown pop star. #1 hits with Camila Cabello, Travis Scott, and Drake have all cemented him as one of the most reliable hit-making guest features over the past few years, putting him well on his way to his personal goal of having 10 #1s.
This year I want 10 #1 singles. If you don't freestyle and you actually work on the singles and record great choruses and develop your songs, yes.
However, behind the iconic hitmaker is a harsh upbringing in some of the meanest streets of Atlanta. In fact, when Sway asked Young Thug where he was from, he had an interesting answer.
Where did you come from? Like, what is your background? Like, man. Okay, what's
man,
you got a Thug? You got to,
man, we came from the streets. Okay. I like that, them.
Yes, Thug says that he is truly from the streets, having been shot at and being the shooter.
I don't got shot, everything that happened, it don't been both ways. Robbed, killed, got shot, stole, everything, all those people.
And sure enough, here Thug is, in the trenches before the fame, toting straps, wiping his nose, and teaching infants how to throw up the blood sign.
Right now in the trenches, keep pistols. Oh, like you all day now.
Okay, this is kind of Fed behavior. It is a little bit.
So, Thug really did come up in these streets. But what streets specifically? Well, Thug himself originally hails from the Jonesboro South projects, which were actually demolished in 2008. Young Thug described the slum-like project where he comes from in a Fader interview as nothing but roaches and rats. In fact, Thug has even referred to the area where he grew up as Little Haiti or just Haiti due to its crumbling resemblance to the developing nation of Haiti, with Thug even making a track called Haiti Slang and actually naming one of his own daughters Haiti. But even more significant in his music is nearby Cleveland Avenue, which intersects with Jonesboro Road, and thanks to Thug, over the years has become one of the most famous streets in Atlanta trap music. So according to Thug, Jonesboro Road and the surrounding areas are so rough they resemble an undeveloped economy. And with all that in mind, it's no surprise that Cleveland Avenue has been a gang stronghold for several decades. Sometimes referred to as Bleveland Avenue due to its long-running association with the Blood Gang, who famously replaced the letter C with B, because they hate Crips so much. And Young Thug has apparently been associated with the Bleveland Avenue.
He literally did the Fed thing, which I was making fun of. Okay.
New Bloods from way back.
Hell, I guess this is like broad appeal. This is broad appeal. He's like, he is going through all of the details and parsing through it piece by piece for, as broad as an audience as possible that did not know that that's how things go.
It looks like Young Thug really boned up on his blood homework, because he's known to throw up so many blood hand signs in quick succession that it might as well be sign language.
No, that's just sign language. You're wrong. He's just doing sign language, actually. That's fucked up. He's just saying, like, have a nice day. He's doing jutsu. He's just this is kind of fucked up. He's just a big fan of Naruto, and he's just doing shadow clone jutsu. What the fuck? That's actually inappropriate that you think these are gang signs.
Now, the specific crew of Bleveland Avenue Bloods, who run the block that Thug comes from, is a crew by the name of Raised on Cleveland, abbreviated to ROC, or the Rock Crew. Sometimes it's restylized as RO5, once again replacing the C because they're Bloods, with other alternative acronyms for ROC being offered by Thug in an early Fader interview, including Rich Off Crime or Ready on Command. Basically, these are some serious Atlanta goons who are not to be played with. In fact, a 2011 bust on the Raised on Cleveland gang saw for the first time part of their operation exposed for the whole the world to see, with US Marshals and an Atlanta police gang unit conducting a major sting operation on the gangbangers in Cleveland Avenue and the surrounding areas. This operation took 8 alleged members off of the streets, along with the seizure of 2 cars, $10,000 in cash, 4 guns, and drugs apparently worth 50 racks. Now, it's not quite a BMF level operation, but it's certainly proof that the criminal underworld of Cleveland Avenue is definitely active when it comes to trapping. And this is the environment that Young Thug and his team came up around. In fact, old videos of the Rock crew chilling on their block around 2009 still circulate on YouTube today, showing Young Thug running through the streets of Atlanta, surrounded by his homies back when he used to go by the name Lil Jeff, showing off his unusually fashionable hood drip and clowning his homeboys for secretly photographing his unusual white boy swag fits.
King of white boy swagging, right? Stand on one time, let these folks see what you're doing now. Straight out the goddamn.
Rocked out right here, man. You know what I'm saying?
You check him out now.
That's what he's doing. He's on his phone, but he's taking.
Come on, bro. If you have a flip phone, like, it's just, you can't, there should be a statute of limitations on these sorts of things, okay? If you're operating at a time when like flip phones are around, it's past the statute of limitations. Like, let him out. You can't use it as evidence, okay? I mean, obviously there's a different reason why he's using a flip phone in the year 2009. Shut the fuck up. I already know, chat. Why are you doing this? I know why he has it. I'm joking.
In fact, in a kind of unusual uniting feature, it would appear that the Rock crew would all identify themselves by wearing matching Rockefeller jeans.
Playing shit with the Rock Republic motherfuckers, you hear me, man?
Let my boy Lil D get on there. What you call the whip time with the dish?
Anyway, Young Thug and his affiliates have gone on to pay homage to the Raised on Cleveland crews in music. YL Stunner had a project called Raised on Cleveland. Lil Keed had a whole mixtape series titled Trapped on Cleveland. And there's a number of interviews with Young Thug early in his career where he discusses being part of the Rock crew, describing it as more like a family or even a religion. Now, at a certain point, the rapping guys from Cleveland Ave started referring to themselves as YSL rather than the Rock crew. Now, if you ask the Atlanta police what YSL stands for, they would say Young Slime Life, an official set of the Bloods in Atlanta. But if you ask Young Thug, especially on camera, he'll tell you that YSL is his record label, Young Stoner Life. A totally legal enterprise that he uses to legitimately, as he says, hire hundreds of members of his own family. In fact, in a since-deleted Complex article titled Inside the Snake Pit, The Rise of Young Thug's YSL Label, Young Thug explains how YSL operates unlike any other label in the music industry and is in fact a genuine family. Now, in this long, rambling and kind of strange article, we don't get that much of a substantial explanation as to how YSL conducts their operations very differently to any other record label, other than the fact that Young
New details that show that Crips, hybrids, East West Mafia, 11 Gang, Hoppa Gang, criminal street gangs targeted for the investigation, Cartel Jalisco, New Generation, Suenos, 18th Street, YSL, Young Slime Life, Sex, Money, Murder, 9 Trey, 93 Gangster Bloods, Money, Power, Respect, Goodfellas, Get All the Profits, Gap, Bounty Hunter Bloods, YNKE. New documents reveal Lil Baby and 4PF and others may be targeted by the feds as well. Cardi? Duct tape? Dude, there's a gigantic fucking... I mean, look. Do some people that are tangentially related to some of these rappers that are in their crews actually end up, like, engaging in actions that you would consider to be violent? Maybe, from time to time. Okay, everybody calm down. All right. But is this the same as, like, the fucking, like, organization? Is this the same as, like, being in an organization that's, like, straight up the fucking, I don't know, like a part of, like, actual organized crime? No. You mean they weren't just joking about the gangbang stuff? No, of course not. Also, motherfuckers got the entirety of Atlanta. At least Amigos still free. I wouldn't be super confident on that. Where is Boogaloo Boys? What the fuck? Wait, what the fuck? Hybrids Boogaloo Boys? Wait, no shot. No, they don't mean like actual. No way. Those boys are patriots. They tried warning Young Thug in this podcast.
Talking shit to you, just like I checked the young nigga in here. I don't know who it was. If like you rappers, like the artists, if you don't want to be the artist, take it to the streets. But don't bring the dumb shit in the game trying to prove that you're a fucking real nigga. And while you proving that you're a real nigga, you going to finesse yourself out of position and out of opportunity that can change your family and generations in your family life. Y'all getting money that niggas never got, Thug.
Mm-hmm. Migos are definitely a bit less gang affiliated than Thug. I'm not going to say anything about what you are stating, okay? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Let's just, just keep it to ourselves.
I'm talking about the legends. Shout out to all the legends that made it possible. They got burnt, fucked up contracts. You know what I mean? Ain't never seen 30,000 one time. Shout out to all them. But y'all getting money, so when
had 1,000 hits.
So when I speak to the young,
1,000 hits.
Yeah. So
still living in the projects.
Yeah, some of them died off. So when I'm speaking to niggas, I'm speaking to young niggas.
Oh, for chatters demonizing Young Thug, he broke gender roles, especially for men where he's from, by wearing dresses, painting his nails, etc. way back in 2014. Yes, 100%. Thugger's been instrumental in me becoming who I am today. When he put on a dress, I felt like one day I could do the same. LK Prince and Bowie, him being himself, allowed me to be myself. He's one of my heroes. Yes, Young Thug is a incredibly important. No, don't say lol. Okay, I think that's like a huge fucking deal. Are you kidding me? He literally fucking put on a dress on his album cover in like 2015 or 2014, whenever the fuck he did this. That's insane. Like 2016, yeah. Lyrics are also homophobic all the time. Yes, chatters. Hey, guess what? There's a reason why they're also rapping about fucking Cleveland Street. Do you want to know why? Because art is a reflection of your reality, okay? And yes, the unfortunate reality is that their reality is a homophobic environment that they grew up in, okay? A homophobic upbringing. Yes. Like, what the fuck? Anyway.
It's like, yo, man, fuck if you ain't trying to hear it, nigga. I'm going to keep giving it to you. One day this shit might catch you. But don't wait until it's too late and you got that phone, that burner phone, and you on Instagram, and I done told you how your life going to go.
And they're going.
And now you got 60 fucking years. Your brother know what time it is. His life, that motherfucker right now could be sitting in the cell with a phone like, damn, man, my brother out there living the life. They out there living. He was in that cell. His life was almost gone. For being a real nigga. And you know what's so crazy? A lot of these young cats, they not being real niggas because they real niggas. They being real niggas because they feel as though if I don't come across as a real nigga, niggas gonna think I'm pussy. So niggas really be scared, Thug. Like niggas be really scared, but a scared nigga kill you too. So my thing is be like this, man. For all you young niggas out there that's moving and operating, figure a lane out, because the street game is about creating an exit plan. It was designed so we get some money, figure out a way and get an exit plan. And you in the street games to make money, not headlines.
There's no way you guys didn't understand what the fuck he's saying, right? What's he going on about? He's saying that when you don't have any opportunities presented to you, you make your own opportunities, and that's how you involve yourself in illicit criminal behavior. But that is only that's only a ladder for you to get out of the circumstances that are presented to you. So once you're actually fucking out of it, don't try to make yourself seem more legit and maintain like a level of respect from people. Holy fuck, I'm literally doing like translation to the, oh my God, I'm so fucking white too. How the fuck do you guys not understand any of this shit? He's basically saying that once you actually make it out, what the fuck are you doing? Don't try to like legitimize yourself by doing street shit again, and then put yourself at risk for no fucking reason. when the entire purpose of that is so that you can make it legit.
So all that goofy shit that you on, and I'm not encouraging nobody to be out there. But if you out there, don't be fucking with them women and them kids, man. Stop being a pussy and go at who you got to go at.
Right.
If I got a problem with Thug, I'm going at Thug. I'm not going at Duke. I'm going right at him, nigga. Where you at? I ain't gonna go shoot up your brother that's going to school that's a square, nigga. I'm just saying.
Talk to him.
I'm just saying, but
Young Thug actively tried to get his rappers out of the hood. He saw Lil Baby's talent and moved him out of the hood quickly and set him up with the studio. It's so sad to see. There's a lot of a lot of rappers that make it big. White splaining, but it's useful though. A few of us are not. Dude, look, it's kind of wild that like it is kind of fascinating that like an otherwise leftist chat is really interesting when they're like when it comes to issues that pertain to black people, like their way to comprehend like materialist analysis and what people are subjected to immediately goes out the window. They're like, well, this is a black guy talking about black things all of a sudden. It is really interesting that you can't like apply that same rigorous materialist analysis to the existence of like black people living in like these underserved communities. You just can't do it. The moment that it's like a rapper saying the N-word, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm uncomfortable.
Thug seems hell-bent on giving legitimate jobs to his friends and members of his immediate family by the dozens. The article did go on to explain that after his 2014 single Stoner picked up steam in the industry, Young Thug got on the radar of big-time rap label 300. Now, at a certain point, talk of Thug getting his own record label came about, and weirdly, when it came to setting up his label, one of the only questions Thug really had for senior decision-makers was how many people have you made a millionaire? Thug would actually go on to say that he wanted to use his YSL label as a vehicle to make all of his friends and family millionaires. So he went on to sign his day one friends Gunna and Lil Duke, later on with the likes of Lil Keed, Lil Gotit, and Yak Gotti joining the label, along with a number of other signees who aren't really that relevant yet. Now that article goes on to repeatedly describe YSL as a family, and most importantly going on to suggest that at this point, they don't engage in any extracurricular activities. Now to me, this would suggest that the YSL movement represented Young Thug's genuine efforts to create a legitimate business, putting on all of the people he grew up with, taking them away from the risks of the streets or crime for good, with Thug using the enterprise to provide as many opportunities for those under his wing as he possibly could. Apparently YSL has a massive...
While there's some fucking UK dude is talking on this, you would think it was 21 Savage. Okay, dude, 21 Savage is... He's an American now, okay? Don't ever put that on him. That was something that we erased from our consciousness when we found out that he might be British, okay?
Compound in LA called the Snake Pit, with multiple studios where YSL artists can pull up and record at any time. So YSL is a family, not dissimilar to how Thug kind of described the rock crew as a family or religion back in 2013. It's a really good thing that Thug's doing for his people, but again the question still remains. What makes YSL so special? Why does YSL stand out? Well actually the thing that seemed to have made YSL such a standout act in hip-hop over the past few years is really how they pioneered the use of certain gang lingo in their music. Because if you know Young Thug and his songs, you probably know his lingo. One of the most popular catchphrases that Young Thug and his YSL movement are known for saying is slime. This is the word that Young Thug popularized in a lot of his songs, which can mean your friend, for example, you know, that's my friend, that's my slime, but the word slime can also mean a member of the Bloods. It can also mean to be slimy and untrustworthy, like a snake, and while you're there, slime can also be used interchangeably to mean kill or hurt. For example, we have to slime the ops down. Now, the use of the phrase slime is traditional blood gang lingo, originally associated with Vado and the New York Bloods, but Vado wasn't the first to use it. In fact, the likes of Noriega had been using it on tracks since 2002, including the intro track Hit Me Slime from his God's Favorite album, where we even hear Queensbridge legend Nas calling Nori Slime too. So, being a Blood straight out of Cleveland Avenue, the word slime was apparently part of Young Thug's lexicon from an early age. But Young Thug seemed to be the first person, at least in the modern music industry, to make this slime blood lingo a big part of his persona. In fact, if you know Young Thug's catalogue well, you'll know that the majority of the imagery and artwork that surrounds his music is all slime and snake themed. Thug would actually later go on to tell Sway in an interview that he felt he found the secret formula when he realized that he was the first rapper to popularize the use of the phrase slime.
No, slime is like, it's like, I never seen no one in the rap game that really named themselves or been so-called slime.
Now, Thug explained to Sway that the meaning of the phrase slime was to mean untrustworthy.
Xing out. It's like, okay, you and me best friends, me and you hit a lick, we get 20,000, I cuff 10,000 and be like, it's only 10. You know, just like slimy.
Oh, slimy.
Like, yeah, slimy.
But he also enthusiastically denied it being a gang term.
So that's not a gang term or nothing?
Nah.
No?
A gang?
Gang, G-A-N-G, yeah, gang.
No.
Okay, I'm just
The thing is, there's not actually that much consensus on the exact meaning of slime amongst the YSL crew. Lil Got It defined slime as another name for the YSL crew themselves.
Slime, YSL. You know, slime, you know, stone like, you know, successful like, you know what I'm saying? Folks be saying, folks on me, be YSL like, they slime like.
But Got It also denied slime was a gang, once again echoing Thug's earlier comments that the YSL team are a family.
We slime, I don't know about the other niggas, but we slime. This YSL shit is a family. Not no gang, none of that, it's a family.
But anyway, the phrase slime found its way into numerous early big songs of Thug's, and in some cases entire songs being based around the phrase like the track Slime Shit, featuring YSL affiliates Pee Wee Roscoe, Lil Duke, and Yak Gotti. But as well as slime, there's another catchphrase that the YSL crew made popular and has since made its way all the way around the world. And that one is SLAT, which has apparently been explained as an acronym for Slime Love All the Time, a catchphrase that has been used regularly as an ad-lib amongst Young Thug, YSL.
The wildest part about this is that, like, yes, this analysis is like painfully Caucasian, and deep down inside, I mean, deep down, you're looking at this, you're like, what the fuck? Why are we hyper focusing on all this dumb shit? Except the feds are hyper focusing on all this dumb shit, and this is a fundamental part of like putting this together, and basically under the RICO statute saying that this is a gang. Like, that's how fucking stupid this is. In a lot of instances, when you use a RICO case on rappers, you literally are using this as evidence. This is unironically actually the evidence that the feds are or the prosecutors are using in this situation. Do you understand? Are the feds investigating by watching YouTube? I mean, no, but like their own personal investigation is going to revolve around exactly the same shit, because they need to make sure that they can claim that this is a real gang and not just like a record label, or not just like something that people, just say. You know what I mean? Like a group of friends, family, anything like that. No, this is a real gang doing gang activity, and basically this is their actual fucking these are the ways that you can identify. Cops have like a lot of they have a lot of shit for this. That's why like have you guys ever seen that black Israelite dude with like the fucking the Star of David tattoo, and a cop pulls him over, and then he's like, "Oh, are you in a gang?" He's like, "No, I'm Jewish." And the cop's like, "No, you're not. That's a gang tattoo." And he's like, "Fuck do you mean it's a gang tattoo? That's like, I'm Jewish. That's why I have a Star of David. Tell me I'm not. How do you know I'm not Jewish?" And it's like that. That is one of those instances where like cops will literally use whatever kind of fucking tattoo you have to say like you are a part of a gang. And of course, some gangs do actually have tattoos, but you know, that's besides the point. The FBI literally calls juggalos a gang. Yeah, exactly.
YSL rappers and even beyond. At a certain point, the SLAT ad-lib became so popular, you can catch any number of famous rappers from Roddy.
You got Hella Mayo Lives white-splaining trap music. I mean, yes, this is a fucking overwhelmingly white community, okay? And I'm white. What do you want me to like fucking lie and like, you know, like act like I'm not? I think like this is the best way to cover something like this, is like be truthful and give you my perspective. Dude in the video is white as fuck too, you know what I mean?
Lil Uzi Vert to YNW Melly using the song, which to me is just more proof of how powerful Young Thug and the YSL slime slap movement has become in modern rap culture. But what does slat even mean? Well, Lil Got It explained that slat was actually a slime greeting and farewell, like hello and goodbye.
Slat, that's a greetings, or, you know what I'm saying, a farewell. like leaving, you know what I'm saying, slack.
And I tell you what, at a certain point, Thug's comments about YSL being a religion really start to ring true, because in one of the most cult-like practices of the YSL crew, apparently, upon joining the label, all signees are required to receive a slat tattoo on their nose-wiping finger. Because we can't forget that other catchphrase popularized by Young Thug and his YSL goons, wipe his nose, a slime-affiliated term associated with killing. E.g., we had to wipe that op's nose, a phrase which can be heard as early as 2014 on the Metro Thuggin' track, The Blangwich. So anyway, that's the YSL crew, their complex background, history, and language. So I hope you can fully understand and appreciate where Young Thug and his YSL crew are coming from. As Thug said, YSL is more like a family than a record label. Problem is, as members of the family grow up and make that transition from the streets into the legitimate music industry, unfortunately, those street beefs can still come back to haunt you. And in this case, the young men coming out of Cleveland Avenue have apparently had a long-running and bitter feud with another group of young guys from a nearby area that goes by the name of Summerhill.
All right, this is important.
Now I know that Young Thug might not be the first artist that you think of when it comes to drill rappers spinning up the op block, but actually Young Thug can be heard dissing the opposing area of Summerhill in one of his earliest songs, Haiti Slang, where he says, "Everybody can't get it, I ain't from Summerhill but I'm visiting." Now, Summerhill spawned a little-known crew in Atlanta called YFN, fronted up by their head honcho YFN Lucci. Lucci hails from Summerhill in Atlanta.
You know, I'm from Summerhill, so I walk over here with my boy, man. We just be kicking it, thinking about ways, you know, to get out. Like, how we gonna do it?
Now, that clip was actually from a Karen Civil interview with YFN Lucci called Welcome to My Neighborhood. And in that piece, he also took her to the Trestle Tree Village Apartments, a nearby project where his homie YFN Trey Pound is from.
Now we in Trestle Tree, this area right here, my boy Pound, Trey Pound, you know, he in YFN. I met Pound when I was like 8 years old. We went to DA Stanton. And that's where he stayed at.
YFN Lucci broke down the realities of where he's from in a Vibe interview where he said not many make it out. And I'm sure you won't be surprised to find out that Summerhill is yet another ATL area associated with extensive gang activity. Numerous blood sets have apparently operated around these areas for a number of years, but according to Atlanta police, one of the most significant crews to click up and emerge out of Summerhill and nearby Peoplestown in Atlanta is the ABG, or Atlanta Blood Gang, with ABG sometimes also standing for Anybody Get It. Apparently coming from their members' willingness to act out violence on literally anyone. So yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with these guys. According to the Atlanta police, the ABG are also clicked up with other Atlanta blood sets like the Bird Gang, apparently formed in the early 2000s in Atlanta's 4th Ward. And according to local police, Atlanta's many blood sets allegedly have ties to the original Inglewood family Bloods from Los Angeles. And as we're going to find out later on in this story, the Atlanta Bloods have other interstate connections that stretch as far as Miami too. So with all of these blood gang alliances, it's no surprise then that YFN Lucci was apparently also close to fellow Atlanta Blood Bloody J, a red rag rocking Atlanta rapper who was apparently getting it in blood way before Durk and Pooh Shiesty was, with his 2013 track Get It in Blood showing a lot of people for the first time that Atlanta had a big blood gang movement too. So you've got the Atlanta Blood Gang running in the streets with the red rags, and much like YSL, if you ask the Atlanta police, they would tell you that YFN is another violent blood set that's committing crimes in the streets, as well as having ties in the music industry. But if you ask YFN Lucci, he would say YFN is not a gang, it's his rap collective and record label. YFN, of course, standing for Young Fly. Yeah.
And the YFN means what?
Young Fly Nigga.
In fact, the full name is YFN BC.
Young Fly Nigga about cash, because it got a BC at the end. So it's Young Fly Nigga about cash.
And it's not just Lucci repping YFN either. He's joined by the likes of YFN K, his big brother who got him into rap, YFN Fat, who apparently became a blood at the ripe young age of 15, Ferrari Fred, or Fred Rari, a rapper signed to YFN hailing from Miami. Now look, we're gonna get well into the music from artists on both sides of this beef, but for now, let's go back to the very beginning, because the beef between these two crews have a lot to do with their careers. Ultimately, both sides had the right idea. Lucci and Thug are both young guys from tough, gang-infested areas, trying to get out and make a better life for themselves and their families. And at a certain point, both of them realized that they would be better off doing this in the music industry rather than in the streets. But unfortunately, after a long and difficult come-up, just as both artists were getting to their peak in the rap game, their unfortunate and violent past just kept on dragging them down.
Oh, dude, you think this is a good lunchtime video? Never mind. We have a, you know, 40 more minutes on this, but I guess everyone that wants to watch this, like, fuck off, you know? We got a good new video up. Come on, bro.
Now, Young Thug began to dabble in rap publicly all the way back in 2010. One of his earliest appearances, featuring on True Royale's She Can Go, saw a young Thug showcasing an early style heavily influenced by Lil Wayne. And to begin with, music wasn't really a serious prospect for Young Thug. But in 2011, that perspective might have begun to change for Thug. This being the year of that big bust on the Raised on Cleveland crew. With the block hot and a number of young people from the area getting locked up, thankfully Thug was able to find a new route to success as he would begin to pick up steam musically. Over the course of 2011 and 2012, Thug would drop 3 installments of a mixtape series, I Came From Nothing 1, 2 and 3. Projects which featured extensive lyrics about Thug's tough come up around the rock crew on Cleveland Avenue. So Thug was beginning to make some waves in music, though in the early days he would struggle to distance himself from those many Lil Wayne comparisons. But eventually, Young Thug's hard work would pay off and he would pick up the attention of Atlanta trap legend Gucci Mane, who would sign Thug to his 1017 Brick Squad record label, with Gucci apparently signing Thug for 25 bands in cash without even hearing his music. But this gamble would pay off as Thug's profile would continue to rise, and Gucci would even collaborate with him numerous times on the 1017 Thug joint mixtape, as well as Gucci putting Thug on his 2013 single Breakdance. These moves would have Thug capturing the attention of the hip-hoposphere in a big way. He landed himself a 2013 Complex.
Gucci Mane, the only person prison actually rehabilitated. Like the singular individual. No one else. Jack Harlow's part of YSL.
Article which unfortunately opened with a massive paragraph comparing him to Lil Wayne, but in my opinion—
You mean Gucci Mane's clone? Yes, I mean that, yeah.
It was around this time that Young Thug actually begun to find his own original style, moving away from the derivative flows that he had borrowed from Lil Wayne before. Also in that Complex article, we got an update on where Young Thug was as far as his connections to the streets, saying that since signing with 1017, he's spending less time with his original rock crew. And by 2017, we would stop hearing Young Thug referring to his old team, the rock crew, and beginning to refer to the people around him as a group by the name of YSL. But far from a label, Young Thug was still describing his YSL goons as the guys that will come and wipe your nose. From here, Young Thug would begin to shout out his YSL family on as many songs as he possibly could, even giving them a big shout out on his breakthrough single, Stoner. In fact, on that very song, there are lyrics that may have gone over a lot of people's heads, where Young Thug seems to basically explain the evolution of the rock crew to YSL, rapping, "Hear my song way from YTC," which is apparently Young Thug's in charge, ROB, which stands for Raised on Cleveland or Cleveland, SMM, Sex Money Murder, another blood set out of Atlanta, now we YSL Venom, which seems to—
Bro, Fez was taking notes, like, literally, while he was writing this. Fez was like... Look at this. Literally, half the fucking gangs he mentioned are in this indictment, dude. What the fuck? Fez were listening to the lyrics, like, on Rap Genius.
Suggests that Thug kind of came up through all these gang blood sort of sets. But that's in the past, and now he's YSL, baby. He goes on to shout out a number of people, referring to them as his slimes, followed by the slat ad-lib. And really, if you ask me, the track Stoner is basically the point where Young Thug begun to heavily rep YSL in his music and just in general. This is where the movement begun. And it also just so happens that this is the point where Young Thug's career begun to take off massively. Along with Stoner, he dropped his other breakout single, Danny Glover. Stoner actually ended up going number 47 on the Billboard chart. So Thug was finally getting a shot at the legitimate music industry. But that doesn't mean that away from the charts, Thug wasn't still rapping on some blood shit. He actually collaborated with that well-known Atlanta blood who we mentioned earlier on in this story, Bloody J, on a collaborative mixtape called Black Portland. Now, this was unfortunately taken off of streaming services in 2019, but the mere fact that this project exists just goes to show you how interconnected and clicked up the various blood rappers in Atlanta were at this point in time. But at a certain point, the blood ties in the music industry would go far beyond Atlanta. At a certain point, Young Thug ended up linking with famous industry blood, big-time music mogul, Birdman of Cash Money Records, with Young Thug finding himself featuring prominently on Birdman's Rich Gang collaboration project, including the lead hit single Lifestyle alongside Rich Homie Quan, a track that in my opinion goes down to this very day as probably one of the best party songs that the rap game has ever spawned. So not only does Young Thug land a spot on one of the best party records of the entire era, but he also earns numerous placements on Birdman's Rich Gang The Tour compilation album. This project also featured the bonus track Throw Your Hood Up, where Young Thug, Bloody J, and and Nipsey Hussle all rep their gang affiliations heavily, with Thug and Bloody J basically writing a love letter to being a blood. Birdman's all over the track throwing up his set and replacing C's with B's. But Birdman also says in the intro of the song that they're big bloods but they hang out with a few Crips. Hence why Nipsey Hussle is also on the song, dropping lyrics that would only become relevant in court documents years later. So you've got Birdman, Young Thug and Bloody J and a whole bunch of other blood affiliated rappers running around on tour, living the luxury lifestyle and finally making money off of music. Problem is, along with the blood affiliated musicians are a bunch of blood gang members who are better known in the streets than in the music. In fact, in a Rich Gang behind the scenes vlog, we actually see Young Thug introduce a man to the camera, describing him as one of the biggest bloods in America.
I got one of the biggest bloods in America with me, my nigga. You did Atlanta, Georgia, nigga.
This man's name is Donovan Thomas, aka Big Nut, and he's a man who would play a major role in the come-up story of YFN Lucci. But unfortunately, his life would be suddenly cut short, sparking a bloody war in the streets that would go on for years to come. So, YFN Lucci's big brother YFNK encouraged him to get into rap when he was a teenager.
My big brother, his name YFNK, he been rapping since I was like 13. Inspired me, made me want to make music. I started rapping, I freestyle.
Okay, now I understand why people say Vlad is a Fed. Bro, I feel like they literally get 90% of this shit from rappers themselves openly fucking admitting on DJ Vlad TV the extent of their gang activity. They're waiting for Vlad and Ross to upload. Vlad is literally a fed that uses shit in court. I mean, yeah, it's fucking crazy. You're just now understanding this. I type in this chat every time he's on stream.
For my big brother.
But obviously his big brother, who was an aspiring rapper himself, wouldn't really be able to get him into the industry. But fortunately for Lucci, having ties in the streets meant he had a network of people to draw upon who might just be able to give him a head start in the rap game. In fact, one of his closest friend's older brothers was Big Nut, that same man that Young Thug had described on Birdman's yacht as one of the biggest bloods in America. And Lucci would go on to say that Big Nut heard his music and truly believed in him.
Now, you had a close friend named Nut.
Yeah, that was one of my best friend big brothers.
Uh-huh.
And he would just believe in me, like when he used to hear my music and shit.
In fact, it was actually Big Nut himself who had introduced YFN Lucci to Fly, who had managed Rich Homie Quan and Trinidad James as part of his record label, Think It's a Game.
Yeah, he introduced me to Fly.
Serious,
well, I know this person, we're gonna try to fuck with this person, but then we were fucking with somebody like, man, I don't think he know too much. I'm gonna introduce you to Fly.
Yeah, Fly had Rich Homie Quan. He also had Trinidad James.
Yeah, so Nut introduced me to them. When he introduced me to them, now they were fucking with the music.
In fact, YFN Lucci would later reveal in a DJ Smalls Eyes interview that it was Nut who introduced Lucci to Fly, saying that Lucci was the hardest rapper out and that he would listen to a strategy if Fly put one together for him.
He introduced me to Fly. He was like, man, Fly know, like, man, shout it. Hard, like ain't nobody harder than him, man. He want to do it, he love doing it, so he gonna do it and he gonna listen. And Fly, Fly, but that was his man, and he believed in him.
Clearly, Nut's word held weight in the streets and in the rap game, and purely off the strength of Nut's recommendation and his first mixtape that was completed but unreleased at this point, Fly decided to give Lucci a chance, releasing his tape Wish Me Well under Think It's a Game Records. With Lucci also getting a care pack courtesy of Fly, a feature from his label mate Rich Homie Quan, for Lucci's first single, Exactly How It Was. And so, all thanks to Big Nut, Lucci finally had an opportunity to break into the rap game fully legit. And from here, Lucci would go on to have big career W's working with Think It's a Game Entertainment. But the saddest fact of all would be that Big Nut, the man that made it all possible for him, wouldn't be around to see it. On January the 11th, 2015, YFN Lucci's close friend and mentor, Big Nut, real name Donovan Thomas, is shot dead at an Atlanta barbershop.
And now to a developing story this morning. The search is on for the person who shot 3 people, including a 14-year-old. 1 man died.
Neighbors in Atlanta's Castleberry Hill neighborhood heard the gunfire around 7:30 Saturday night. She saw 3 young men on the ground. Atlanta police say a teenager and a man in his 20s were both shot in the leg. The third, 26-year-old Donovan Thomas, was critical.
Had a significant injury. We had at least multiple gunshots in the upper torso area. He was rushed to surgery.
Thomas died at the hospital. Homicide detectives.
This is the main reason why Young Thug is in jail right now, because the car that they used to do the shooting, Young Thug was the one who actually rented the vehicle, tying him to the crime.
Looked for bullet holes.
Allegedly.
Brought in a police canine to search for more shell casings. They believe it was a drive-by shooting.
Police believe the 3 2-adult men and a 14-year-old were targeted. Triple shooting outside this barbershop ended the life of 26-year-old Donovan Thomas.
Big Nut was loved and respected by the YFN crew and in the streets of Atlanta at large. And following his death, clips of him with the likes of YFN Lucci circulated on social media, showing just how close these two really were.
Cut, man. Straight up, man. Salute to you, big boy. We fucking with you, man.
Following Nut's death, it's said that there was a massive fallout in the Atlanta music scene. YFN Trey Pound told DJ Small's Eyes just how shocked he was to hear about Nut's passing, with Lucci also speaking on the loss of Nut in his Karen Civil interview, remembering how Nut had been the first person who put him on in the rap game.
You know, I lost one of my homies who really got me on. You know, long live Nut forever.
Now, as far as I could tell, the police never announced any arrests or suspects in the killing of Nut. And while there's no concrete evidence to suggest that anyone associated with YSL had anything to do with Big Nut's murder, a lot of YouTube videos already exist explaining that theory. Countless comments have popped up on Reddit threads relating to this incident, suggesting YSL had something to do with what happened to Nut. But perhaps most significantly, the Atlanta police would later say, in an indictment targeting YFN members, that local police intelligence suggested that it was widely believed that YSL was somehow responsible for Big Nut's death, going on to state that it was this belief that directly caused the hostility between these two groups. Now, whether or not this is actually true, we'll probably never definitively know. But it is clear that following the death of Nut, a big rift emerged between Atlanta rappers. Rich Homie Quan, who at this point shared management with YFN Lucci, but was also closely involved in Young Thug and Birdman's Rich Gang project.
Okay, so what's the actual link other than fucking cops? Notoriously not very good faith actors in parsing through gang activity, and certainly not Reddit, which is predominantly occupied by white people who would, who certainly physically at least have proximity, like really no proximity to the situation whatsoever.
Would take a step back from things, with Rich Homie Quan's relationship with Thug famously declining, and Quan just generally taking a step out of the limelight. It would also appear that the former collaborative relationship between Bloody J and Young Thug would never be the same again too, as Bloody J would continue to collaborate with YFN Lucci, but not Thug. At a certain point, the city of Atlanta basically split into two halves, and according to the police, this is when the beef truly heated up, with the cops reporting that as many as 37 incidents and 4 subsequent murders that they believe were linked to this original inciting incident. But as both YFN Lucci and Young Thug would continue to have success in the music industry, picking up thousands of fans and making millions of dollars from their songs, eventually their beef would also make its way into the music industry for the entire world to see. Because no matter how much they wanted to keep their street politics secret, eventually this beef would play out very publicly and very bitterly. In the midst of the death of Big Nut, the war between YFN and YSL was heating up in the streets. During this time, a lot of the beef in the area was kept offline, especially considering the fact that in 2015, when Nut's life was taken, both Thug and Lucci were still relatively early on in their careers. So at this point, the kind of gang-related activity going on around these two artists was subject to far less scrutiny. However, in 2016, as YFN Lucci's career begins to pick up steam and he appears in a number of on-camera interviews, he reveals just how real his life in the streets of Atlanta has truly gotten, telling Karen Civil that his family home had been the target of numerous shootings.
When my house got shot up, I was out of town though, man. I get a call, my mom don't say the house got shot. They ain't even pull up in front of the house. They pull up like right here, and they was just shooting it like, you know, sideways behind the car in the street. They was in the street though soon, cause that's where all the shell was.
Yes, apparently the ops were pulling up at YFN Lucci's house and straight spraying it up. But that wasn't the only time. Apparently they came back, and this time Lucci's own mother was left injured.
He ain't even really want to say it. He like the house, he said it happened again. We hop out, we come over here. Jew was in here, my big brother Juju was in here, my baby mama, and my little girl and my mama and her friend. Both of them got shot though, my mama and her friend.
Whilst he was forthcoming to Karen Civil about the details of the shooting, when asked about who did it in a Vlad TV interview, Lucci was much less forthcoming.
You don't know who did it. Street code, right?
So, at this point, the stakes in the streets of Atlanta are getting very high. And when mothers are getting hit, you know that the beef is serious. But even worse than involving mothers is involving children. And as the beef goes on, you will see that rappers on both sides of this feud aren't afraid to take it there, bringing their own ops kids into the beef just to goad their rivals. In February 2016, YFN Lucci took to Instagram to wish Young Thug's daughter a happy birthday, posting a video of her face, which I'm definitely not going to put in this video. An incredibly ominous and serious message from YFN Lucci to Young Thug. But in spite of this kind of bold message sent on social media for the whole world to see, Lucci wasn't done prodding Thug. That same month, he also took to Twitter, saying that Young Thug's fiancée Jerica misses being on the couch with Lucci. He went on to infer that Young Thug would cry if he saw the DMs between Lucci and Jerica. Lucci would go on to post the unverified but supposed messages between him and Jerica, which weren't really damning or necessarily verifiable, but at the very least, if true, they would infer that Jerica had been to visit Lucci. Anyway, Lucci attempted to back up that unverifiable screen grab with a tweet saying true story, and another saying that he's got someone's hoe on a leash, going on to infer that he stole a rich person's girl, and atting Jerica directly saying that he misses her, shooting out another tweet to suggest that her denying this is a lie. And finally, ending his tirade by tweeting out 3 L's, which I assume were aimed at Young Thug. Now, Thug eventually replied in a tweet suggesting that Lucci was just looking for clout, and another saying that if a rapper wants to come up, they should collab rather than trying to start beef. A month after this, in March 2016, Lucci does an interview with DJ Smalls Eyes where he suggests that he doesn't even know who Young Thug is.
You and Thug.
I don't know him. Never heard of him.
Now, at a certain point, it would make sense for Lucci to set his pride and this beef to one side and focus on his buzzing music.
Sometimes people get stabbed in prison, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, if this is the kind of behavior that you're demonstrating regularly, who's to say you're not behaving this way in prison as well, and then sometimes someone just stabs you? Why is that Young Thug's fault? I'm just saying, why? Why is that? Because that's the other reason why they're saying that, you know, the attempts, the murder attempts on YFN Lucci are also linked back to Young Thug.
Career. By this point, Lucci was just about getting to that next level. Since joining up with CEO Fly of Think It's a Game Entertainment, he'd gone on to drop his follow-up mixtape Wish Me Well 2, just about landing in on the Billboard charts at position 183. This would be Lucci's first real chart hit, with Lucci and Fly both pulling up for a celebratory interview on The Breakfast Club. And in this interview, Lucci had some choice words, not just for Young Thug, but also his fiancée Jerica, doubling down on his earlier tweet shooting his shot at her, with Lucci saying he'll holler at whoever he wants.
Now, I saw you also was tweeting at Young Thug's fiance.
If that was his girl.
Why is Hassan Lamal? Bro, Gunna literally said I was too controversial to be on the stream, okay? So no, I'm not. Like, Gunna's team literally were like, yeah, sorry, I don't know if I think we're gonna pass on this interview opportunity. I was like, come on, dude. Like, you literally got shot at like last week. What do you mean I'm controversial? What the fuck? Yes, that is real. That is a real thing. I was trying to get Gunna on stream. No fucking way. No, yes fucking way. Streets is too hot around a song good, I can't risk it for real. No, dude, it's just like politics is literally the one Politics and like getting fucking canceled for like dumb shit. Is like literally seen as like a bigger brand risk than fucking, I don't know. You dodged the RICO charge, it would have been so sick. A lot of hip hop fans hate socialists, not me though. This Port Authority pigeon. Anyway. And then I see these DJ Vlad interviews and I'm like, dude, what do you think? I'm going to like ask a question that you're going to give like a dumb answer to and then people are going to cancel you for it. But like, you're going on DJ Vlad and fucking literally saying like, yes, murders were happening in this gang, in this street. And I have rapped about it numerous times. And also, thank you for asking that question. Okay, let's keep going.
Girl, you smell me?
Okay, so you didn't know, maybe.
Hey, man, we in the street, man. I met everybody.
Not long after brushing off the Young Thug drama, Lucci would go on in this interview to boldly proclaim that he is still tied in with the streets and that everybody he keeps around him now has street credentials.
We ain't got time to hang in the streets, man. We been did that.
What about your circle of people that was with you in Atlanta before everything started moving?
They still with me. YFNBC. Like, all up, we grew up together. Blood brothers to best friends, and we were like 8. So, you know, that'll really it can get.
But ironically, while Lucci is breaking into the charts for the first time, still maintaining his ties to the streets, Young Thug's career is progressing at lightning speed. Let's not forget, as Lucci was just signing his very first deals, Young Thug was running around on yachts with Birdman, living the lifestyle, and slowly putting together a string of hits. While Lucci was making baby steps, Young Thug, who had had a head start of a couple of years, was making huge strides. In mid-2014, Young Thug signed to 300 Entertainment, and in 2015, in response to a large amount of his music leaking, Thug would end up dropping a colossal amount of music. His controversial Barter 6 project released, with the album's title Barter 6, sparking a furious feud with Lil Wayne, who had named a number of his albums The Carter, with this feud ultimately culminating in Lil Wayne's tour bus being shot up by an affiliate of Young Thug and Birdman, an incident that I covered in a separate video years ago on this channel. Go check that out if you haven't. But anyway, following the huge success of Barter 6, Thug would then go on to drop 2 installments of his Slime.
The accusations against him are similar to the stochastic terrorism incitement association logic. I mean, RICO is like codified though, so what you're talking about is like is a little bit more theoretical, whereas like a RICO is just like you're the leader of the gang. They're saying you're one of the main leaders of this gang. We're now saying that YSL is a gang. You have there's no like, we're using your free expression in your art and in numerous interviews to find like any instance where like you might be colloquially using gang as like family, you know what I mean? But we're going to turn around and like say that this is a real gang, and anyone affiliated with any of your affiliates or anyone ever affiliated with you or anyone that's like been around you when you were coming up and any kind of activities that they have engaged in is going to be linked back to you. Anyway, then that's precisely what they're doing. That's the whole point.
Season mixtape series to an overwhelmingly positive response. The first of which featured the classic Young Thug single Best Friend, which itself charted at 45 on Billboard, with these moves putting Young Thug in a prime position for an enormous 2016. And whilst YFN Lucci was getting his very first Billboard successes with his Wish Me Well 2 mixtape, Young Thug was going mainstream. He'd landed a Calvin Klein campaign. He dropped charting singles with Travis Scott and Usher. A third installment of his Slime Season mixtape, and probably most iconic of all was his enormous album release Jeffrey, coming along with that famous cover art where Young Thug wore a dress. Now Jeffrey and its cross-dressing cover art stoked a lot of discussion in hip-hop about masculinity, gender, and self-image in a genre of music that's generally not known for its dress-wearing rappers. Now Thug would later go on to try and reclaim some gangster points, suggesting that the only reason he wore a dress is so that he could hide an AK-47 under it, but the reality is, a gangster throwing a dress on the cover of their album is always going to generate a lot of attention and sales. Jeffrey was a huge success, peaking at number 8 on Billboard, and frankly bringing the discourse in hip-hop forward about 10 years. After Jeffrey, Young Thug had cemented himself as a trap rap icon. and as a result, the streams and sales were rolling in. Young Thug was one of the hottest commodities in town, and everyone was lining up to throw a bag at him. So following the successful launch of Jeffrey, Young Thug would finally be in prime position to put into action his plan of making everybody around him a millionaire. At which point he worked closely with Lyle Cohen of 300 Entertainment to launch his own sub-record label, YSL. Now to this day, it's still not definitively clear what the S in YSL stands for. Is it Young Stoner Life, Young Slime Life, Young Slapped Life? It doesn't really matter, because Young Thug had finally and truly bossed up, escaping the blocks of Cleveland Avenue, making a whole bunch of hit records, and using his movement in the music industry to finally bring his vision for a label to life, and legitimately put on all of the friends and family who had been there with him, helping him survive from the early days in the trenches. This was an incredible achievement for Young Thug that likely inspired many more aspiring rappers to do the very same. And in the following year, YFN Lucci would try and level up too, making bigger inroads into the music industry and building himself an empire. However, unfortunately, as Lucci was growing in the music business, his past ties to the streets remained. And as he would continue to use his music to reflect on his dark past, sadly that same past would come back to haunt him. In 2017, YFN Lucci would honour his lost friend Big Nut by releasing his debut EP titled Long Live Nut. This release was a success, landing at number 27 on the Billboard charts, and spawning the hit single Every Day We Lit with PNB Rock, landing at number 33 on Billboard, the highest charting song of Lucci's career, and a track that is, in my opinion, a certified classic. But it wasn't all good news for YFN Lucci in 2017, however. Lucci was arrested in 2017
certified banger.
refusing to pull over and fleeing from the cops, eventually being arrested at gunpoint, being caught with 3 weapons, but fortunately no drugs, despite the police claiming that they could smell marijuana, with Lucci himself being pictured balling in the back of a cop car with 2 chains on, looking clean and unbothered. Apparently following this incident, Lucci made bail.
Dude, the way he's explaining these stories is awesome, dude. Looking unbothered. Looking clean and unbothered. Sorry.
Getting out, hopping straight on a private jet, and still managing to make a big show in another state. A close call for Lucci, but unfortunately he couldn't stay out of trouble. Again, in June 2017, he's arrested in Tennessee alongside Lil Wayne's daughter Reginae, who he was dating at the time. With these kinds of incidents combined with the music, Lucci was getting a whole bunch of attention, both good and bad. Meanwhile, in 2017, Young Thug had spent months crafting a country-inspired new mixtape. Originally titled Easy Breezy Beautiful Thugger Girls, or EBBTG for short, it was eventually released under the title Beautiful Thugger Girls on the 16th of June 2017. This date was coincidentally the birthday of Tupac Shakur. And naturally, a lot of different Tupac related things were going on around the time of Tupac's birthday. This included the release of long-awaited Tupac biopic, All Eyes on Me, but there was also YFN Lucci, who had released a tribute song to Tupac called Like Pac on Tupac's birthday too. Now, this wouldn't have been a big deal had Young Thug not hopped on Twitter a couple of days later, revealing to the world that he had actually dropped his Beautiful Thugger Girls album on Tupac's birthday on purpose, because as he said in his tweet, he is the new Pac, and that Young Thug is the thug that Tupac didn't get to become, with Thug saying that he was going to finish what Tupac started. Now, this kind of comment naturally didn't rub hip-hop purists up the right way at all. But then again, let's not forget who's truly to blame for the Young Thug-Tupac comparisons. Wyclef Jean, who was the first person to originally start calling Young Thug the new Tupac in 2016. But anyway, for YFN Lucci, this was the perfect opportunity to dig up their old bitter feud. And in response to Thug's tweets, Lucci piped up on Twitter himself, saying Tupac would have never worn a dress, clown emoji. Now, Thug responded to this with cryptic tweets, questioning whether Lucci was big mad or little mad, and calling him a peon and a buster. But then Thug's tweets took a little bit more of a dark turn, as he went on to say that Lucci should humble himself and thank God that he's in a position to take care of his mother. You know, the one who was shot in his home, with Thug going on to suggest,
a guy you're able to take care of your mama and be humble, doing too much could become a deep sleep.
Doing too much could lead to Lucci being put to sleep. Now, in spite of this very brief flare-up for all of Twitter to see, the real feud between these two remained beneath the surface for the remainder of 2017. That summer, Thug would go on to have the biggest debut of his entire career, his feature on chart-topping global hit Havana with Camila Cabello. Meanwhile, Lucci, still relatively new to becoming a Billboard charting successful rapper, is being profiled by rap media organizations like Complex, talking about how all of his dreams have finally come true through the music industry. Thing is though, in the streets of Atlanta, things were still pretty dangerous for both sides. One incident did make its way to the media, but has been pretty well hidden since it happened, was the January 12th shooting of YSL rapper Lil Duke outside of Atlanta's Magic City nightclub, when apparently following a confrontation inside the club, Duke was chased out of the club by a man with a gun, eventually being shot outside. According to a police report that later leaked, Duke was chased by 4 men, being shot in his shoulder and foot and left bleeding heavily. He was able to flee to a nearby Greyhound bus terminal, where he found safety and was eventually taken to hospital. Now, this incident was generally kept under wraps, but a surveillance clip from the incident leaked online around a year after it happened. But since then, that clip has been pretty well scrubbed from the internet. Now, after a lot of digging, I was actually able to find that clip, but I'm not going to risk putting that up on YouTube. I mean, this kind of incident just goes to show you, no matter how much success you or your team can achieve in the music industry, there's always going to be danger in the streets, as the shadow of past events continues to follow you into the present. But despite the dangers his team were facing in the streets, this didn't stop Young Thug continuing to provide opportunity for his team and his family. Summer 2018 actually saw Young Thug releasing his first YSL label compilation album called Slime Language. Meanwhile, YFN Lucci was also having a great 2018 focusing on music. His March 2018 album release